or 3 minutes of some conversation about work, and you will catch something out of that. Stop going to lunch by yourself. Those days of doing 10 hours of coding with that machine, you got to get out of that. And that took me a while to get used to that, because sometimes I just like lunch by myself to be downtime and just kind of recollect my energies. But sometimes you just have to play that game a little bit. So, team building is valued in Lockheed Martin. That's a big thing. You know what? I think a lot of it's a big thing is because there aren't too many management slots. So everybody has to more or less learn to be on the lower level. And so they better be team players, because we can't have a lot of malcontent going on there. So, or we're making those few managers very stressed out. So that's just my gut feeling on what the real politics is there. Mentors versus advocates. Does that mean a difference to you? They do to me. What's a mentor? Why do you get mentors early on? This is where I decided to get interactive.
Show you the ropes.
Yeah. So what does mentoring do? That is not an advocate. An advocate is later on in your career. Anybody know the difference?
Advocate promotes you.
Yeah. They're out there singing your song. It's like, oh, you need that? Kate can do that. He's not come back, or she's not come back and say, Kate, this is how you do it. Oh, Kate can do that. That's just dropping your name. So early on, you want a mentor that explains the culture, explains what things you should be doing, who you should be talking to. But at some point, you grow up. And you get kind of like, I don't need to be told that. I've heard that. That's when you start looking for an advocate. Somebody who sees your capability, sees your potential, and is going to drop your name. And that's important to find those people. And maybe your mentor will become your advocate.
A mentor, would, in a sense, would be your net to catch you.
Definitely.
Also, whereas an advocate, you can let the advocate down, and then you're toast with the advocate. I mean, because because you put the advocate's reputation on the line.
Yep, that's a good point. Yep, that's a good point. Yep, you have to be playing this game and thinking about the other person and what they're getting out of your relationship. That's not always that's a good point. Okay, some things that I know as a young technical person: craft your resume. Revisit that every 3 months, because you'll forget what cool things you're doing. And keep reorganizing it. Give it another structure. Maybe a more dominant thread is coming to the top. Maybe programming languages, at one point that was something I highlighted. After a while I said, I don't know where I'm doing that much anymore. Nobody really cares I know Java. Okay, so, just keep rewriting your resume. This is something that I read in a book that stuck with me. It's called Intellectual Capital, and it was making the point that, we're out of the factory model. We're now selling our IQs, bright people. And that's the important commodity for a corporation, is the people, and that's the real asset, is the brains they're walking around with, and the connection of those brains to other brains to find the missing pieces that they need to get the job done. That's the important thing. Okay, the point was, if you're at a company, and in 3 months you don't have something neat little tidbit to put on your resume, it may not be the right job for you. Now, right now I know it's a little hard to jump around. It's not .com days. But it is something you need to be thinking about. And don't wait for somebody to make it happen for you. That's why you get a mentor early on and an advocate. You say, I heard about this course I should be taking. I'm thinking management. Do you have any management courses that I could be taking? They'll send you to it. But you got to let your feelings know, and you got to get out there. You got to pound pavement for yourself. Your professors aren't with you anymore. You got to go out and do a lot of that work for yourself. So that's something you'll find out. Remember we talked about, these are just skills that are Lockheed Martin skills, but you got to understand we came from a group that were building airplanes, and there's a lot of that Air Force kind of bravado in it, so it's a culture that came down, which is different from a CIA culture, which is playing a different game, which is different from an NRO culture, which is different from an Oricon culture, which is definitely different from academic. So you just have to be aware, keep your ears open, eyes open. Oh, this was just something I had to tag on because I had a good boss, and she was a good advocate for me. And she told me this. She says, oh, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Kate. Don't ever bring me a problem without bringing me the solution. Then I'll say you're a wizard. I'll fix it for you. She says, you bring a boss a problem and you don't tell them how to fix it, they're going to screw it up. They are going to go down the wrong path. They don't understand the problem at all. But they're full of, got to get this done now. They'll do it. But you're going to be sorry. So just keep that in mind. That is probably the one thing that's gotten me farther through life than anything. Okay, I've always been intrigued with these power books, and I don't know if this went through here like it went through CIA, for instance. But there's a bunch of books on power and how to maintain power in a situation, how to project power. And so here are some of the things I just grabbed from a recent article. They keep coming back. You can find these articles all over the place. Flexibility and keep moving. That's a strength. That doesn't mean that you have to be flitty about your technology. You still develop your depth there. But don't feel that you have to stay, in one little desk and just keep pounding away and doing your work and not reaching out. You need to be flexible. Okay, that job goes away. You better be thinking about the next job. Don't be there like, oh my goodness, I no longer have this job in 2 weeks. Now what do I do? Things like that happen. I mean, Lockheed Martin down in Orlando, they would do layoff to the technical people.
Anti-submarine warfare is no longer in, so what do you do now?
That's not a pithy statement anymore, right? Right. I'm a big one about getting out of the box, and I think probably anybody who has a good grounding in academia will feel comfortable with that role. Just kind of stepping back, question all your assumptions. Question all the assumptions of the people that have given you assumptions. You don't have to be arrogant or nasty about that. Just step back and say, well, have you thought about this? And sometimes they go, oh, damn. You're right. And sometimes they'll say, well, you're an idiot. Of course that's that way. But it doesn't hurt. Accept diversity. Again, that is a key thing with Lockheed Martin, but I don't mean just diversity, skin color or race. It's diversity on where you were raised, parts of the country, the way people think about things. Some people are aggressive, some people aren't. Just go with the flow. Not everybody is like you, thank God. Just be thankful for that. We're not all the same. We don't all demonstrate our feelings the same way. Some people are tight. You're never going to know how they feel. Some people are weepy, and they're going to get the job done too. So there you go. That's how you have to deal with people. This gets more important probably when you're new to a company or corporation. You kind of go with the flow. Now I find it's a little bit more important to me to have ideas of what maybe in 5 years I want to be here. And it doesn't have to be day by day. But in 5 years, I see myself in a more of a management role. Or I see myself working with this government company in this area. Try to have some game plan for yourself. Yeah, you may not keep to it. But it's better than just kind of letting management flop you all around. It's just more satisfying to build kind of goals for yourself and go for them. Pick good models. This is somebody when the CIA told me when I was floundering around trying to figure out what I wanted to do with myself, and he said, Kate, who do you respect here? And I said, well, I respect this guy, Joe, blah, blah, blah. He says, well, find out how he got there. Just look at his career. What did he do to get there? Well, that's good. I just lunch with Joe. So that served two purposes. Don't eat by yourself and figure out what it did that made him get to the place he got. I'm not going to follow that path verbatim, but it gives you some idea of what to do with yourself. Alliances, and this Jennifer has kind of hit on a point here. Yes, you need to build alliances. Okay, here's where I get interactive. Are alliances set in glue or set in cement? What does alliance imply from the power folks? Anybody on that one? Take a grab. Jennifer, you kind of hit it.
Well, I think it's ties, but the ties can be flexible ties, and they can be sort of mutating. Sometimes an alliance is going to be set up in this structure.
Those
it's almost like
five
string theory, where it's like a really solid tie here, and then it rearranges.
Exactly right.
It reforms itself over here.
And that's a key thing. And that's part of the flexibility. Don't get feeling that somebody's abandoned you because all of a sudden they're more interested in this other group of people. That's just alliances shifting in and out. That happens. That's part of the flexibility. Get used to that. You will find if you have a good advocate or mentor, they hang in there with you. Unless, like you said, when you get to the point, when you're 10 years down your career and you're a solid person and you miss doing something for somebody who's your advocate, they may start advocating somebody else. Doesn't mean they don't like it. It's just, they said, okay, let me down. Okay. Declare your identity. I found this to be a key thing. And this is probably a little more down your career. Just to stand up and say, I'm new to this program. I'm taking care of the IA part that has to do with strategy. That's my domain. Anything comes up in that area, bring it to me. And it just helps to say that if you have a sense of what your identity is. Because people don't know. And they may be stepping on your toes, not even realize.